Hi everyone, it's Leilani. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to do a little bit of a different video. We're going to take this vintage Snow White golden telltale book that I got while I was thrifting, and we're going to use the cinch, use some scraps that I have, and we're going to create a junk journal to keep all of my thrifting memories inside of it. So I'm really excited about that. It's going to have the same kind of idea here as this book that I created last summer over on Patreon. So we did the same thing. I used one of these vintage books and I created a summertime junk journal. So if you have not watched this, there is a flip through of this over here on my channel, but I really have gotten the itch to create some sort of journal to keep all of my vintage thrifting photos inside of it. So that is going to be my plan. So I'm basically going to deconstruct this book here soon. Then I actually took some of the Simple Stories flea market collection and a lot of the cut aparts. I just went ahead and cut them down so they would be ready to go. So I'm going to add all of these into the album in different ways. I have a couple random bits that I want to keep up with as well. And then I have just a few random pieces that I found in my stash that I thought would potentially be fun. Took some pages here out of the Sunny Days paper pad from Maggie Holmes, I think. And then I have my cinch here, and I have some of the wires. So we're going to take all of this and we're going to create an album together. So let's get started. All right, y'all. So now let's move on into the process video. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to deconstruct this children's book here, although I am going to actually change my mind and we are going to use the papers from this book. But as far as the cover goes, I'm going to use a different cover because I actually decided that I wanted this book to be a little bit bigger. So originally, whenever I was thinking about creating one of these kind of altered children's books as a little journal, a little junk journal, I was imagining it a little bit bigger, and then I didn't see a children's book that I already had that would work. So I thought, okay, I'll use the little telltale book. I love that size. I've used it before, but I end up finding a bigger, actually Snow White book that I had. So I'm going to kind of like use both of them. And I'm sure that I can find a use for that beautiful cover of the smaller book for some other project at some other time. So at this point, what I've done is I deconstructed that book, took all of the papers out, took the cover off. So those are just kind of in a nice little stack. Then for some reason, my camera was not filming. I noticed all of a sudden, but all I had done was cut down all of my pattern papers into the same size. So I just used one of those Snow White pages there as a template, and I cut down all of my pattern paper. And then I'm using a Citrus Twist large tag as a template, and I created all of these little tags here. So some of them are on double-sided paper. Some have white paper on the back. You be the judge of what you like the most if you were to create one of these little altered books. But for me, I like to have some that have white paper because I like the kind of break from all of the pattern paper and all of the craziness to kind of have some white paper inside of my junk journals. So either way, it works out. So I'm just kind of creating these tags. I'm using some of these really cute like hole reinforcers from Heidi Swapp. They're from the Color Fresh collection there to pop onto the tags. I think that's really cute. And I love to add kind of different sized pages throughout my album. So that is what my plan is going to be. So this is where I found this other book here, a little bit bigger. So I'm actually going to do the same thing for this one. I'm going to deconstruct it, and this is actually going to be the book that we're going to use for the cover. I just really love this size. It's about double the size of the other one, and I think that that's going to be a little bit better for what I'm trying to do. So for this one, I used my X-Acto knife, and I just popped the cover off, as you can see, and then I'm going to take that little spine off, and I'm just going to cut out all of the pages. For this one, I did use my X-Acto knife because it was just a little bit easier, but I'm going to kind of skip ahead, but you get the idea. I'm just cutting all of the pages out here, and then we will move on to getting some other pattern paper together. So if you haven't tried one of these altered children's books, it's really, really fun. And even though mine is like Disney themed, which also of course would be an awesome Disney altered album. I mean, it would be a great place to add just extra random Disney photos or to tell little Disney stories. But I really wanted to create a thrifting album. And for me, Disney just goes hand in hand with my entire life. So I love that my thrifting album is Disney themed. And these are also books that I have thrifted. So that works out really well for what we're doing here. So the next step, really quick, before I get ahead of myself, the next step here is we're going to use the cinch, and basically the cinch has little spots on it for you to do everything that you need to do. Now, this is not a tutorial for using the cinch, so definitely if you don't know how, if you're more interested in like a tutorial based video, I will actually put one below for my friend Michelle. She has a really great video that I used whenever I was trying to learn how to use the cinch. So I'll pop it below if you need help, like step by step. It's really, really good. But for this video, this is just entertainment purposes. So I'm not going to explain the whole thing, but basically this part of the cinch that I'm working on now punches your holes. So it's really, really simple. You can punch all of your holes into your paper, and that works out great. Once I get all of my papers cut out and cut down and the holes punched, we'll move on to the next step. But now I'm just looking through an older paper pad that I had just from Joann's, where it's just kind of like all kinds of like mostly solid color with a really light background. So I thought that this was the perfect time to use this paper, because also it's extremely thin, which sometimes is not great, but in this particular project, I feel like having kind of thinner paper is nice, because I am trying to keep this album decently thin, because I know I'm going to want to put a lot of things in it. And so wherever I can kind of cut down on the bulk, I'm definitely interested in doing that. So this paper is great. So I just took a huge stack of the paper and I cut it all down, all kinds of colors here. I'm not going to use all of it, but I'll have it if I need to use it for anything else. I tucked it in my drawer. It'll be there if I need it. But now I'm just going to, once again, punch my holes. So what I'm doing is, you'll also notice for these larger pages, I'm just punching the holes right in the middle. You can do all kinds of different things with the cinch, but for me, I'm only going to have holes right in the middle of my book, and almost like the top and the bottom section are going to be a little open. I don't know if that will make sense until you see the flip through later, but hopefully it does. So anyways, I really, really wanted to do a thrifting album. So I love that I have these two vintage books that I'm putting together here. I think one was from like 1957 and one was from maybe like 1973. So I love that I have these vintage books. One of my favorite things to get while thrifting are vintage books, especially vintage Disney, because I'm a huge Disney fan. So I love that. And Snow White is one of my favorite characters. So I'm very happy to finally be able to use both of these and have a purpose to use these books, because I really wouldn't ever look at them, all these kind of vintage books that I go and thrift. But whenever I create a mini album out of the books, then all of a sudden they get thumbed through a lot more, and I'm able to not only see my own photos, but I'm also able to look at the beautiful illustrations, which I really love. So then what I just did was I basically took all of my different sized papers that I'd already cut down and punched the holes in, and then I just arranged them roughly the way that I want them to go in the album. Then over on the side of the cinch, there's like this little spot that will hold your wires. So I did cut down my wires so that there was just enough for how many I need for my book. And then I'm adding on the paper. Here you might be able to tell what I was talking about, where if you look at the bottom of the book or the top, I don't have the wires going all the way up to the top or all the way up to the all the way down to the bottom. And it kind of looks it could look silly, maybe. I don't know. It could, because there's only going to be the wire or the spiral right in the middle. But I personally think that this is a lot easier to flip through and a lot easier to work with if I only add it right there. So that's just a personal preference. You could do yours any way that you want. So at this point, I just took all of those papers and I just popped those onto my wires. Then you add the back of your, no, I did that wrong. Then you actually add the front of your book. I'm going to take that off. You add the front of your book, and then you add the back of your book, and then you're going to cinch it, and then it will be all good. So now you can see that the wires are open. Then you pop the whole thing into the back of the cinch. You have to make sure it's the right size. You pop it into the back and it presses down. Mine pops out like I'm popping popcorn. I don't know what happens to this thing. It pops out so freaking fast, but it did cinch it. So that's all that I cared about. So I feel good about it. It cinched it. There you have it. And now my book is together. So I'm really, really excited about the way it turned out. I love the size of the wires because it will definitely grow with me throughout me adding photos and whatnot. And now we're going to do the fun part. We are going to decorate the pages. So what my idea for this book is, so thrifting is one of my big passions, something that I love to do. My favorite, like if I'm leaving the house hobby, it's thrifting. I absolutely love it. I love being in a thrift store. It makes me happy. It makes me feel cozy and comfy, and I just absolutely love it. I've filled our house with all kinds of thrifted treasures, all kinds of thrifted furniture. I just love it. So I also see so many things while I'm in a thrift store that I love, but I cannot take home with me, or that is too expensive, or that just won't work for what I'm looking for. So I thought that it would be fun whenever I go on these little thrifting adventures to take photos of all kinds of things and then create some sort of mini album. So I was thinking, did I want to do a TN, a traveler's notebook? What did I want to do? But I really wanted something that had the spirals so that I could easily work in there. So I thought that this would be a great option. So this first thrifting adventure that I'm documenting, you'll see I pulled out these really, really old stamps and I spelt out adventure 1. There's no numbers. So I just spelt out the word 1. So I added that to the top. I love the way that those look. And then I stamped out the date, which it is June 2nd, because this was whenever me and my mom just went on our Nashville trip. We went thrifting. So I grabbed a business card, which I'm going to try to remember to do from all of the places that I go. And I popped that there onto the top. And then I added on kind of a photo of the kind of the way that the store looked, like the whole store wasn't the whole store, but a couple of the aisles of the store, so you could get an idea of that. And then I just popped on a little cut apart from the flea market collection from Simple Stories down there at the bottom, so I could tell a general story of where we were, like that this thrift store is in Nashville, so I've only been to it a couple of times, that sort of thing. And then here on the back, I'm going to add a few other photos that I took while I was there. So I did print all of my photos off on sticker paper. So I am a lover of sticker paper now. I got it. It was suggested to me from a few of my friends for my reading journal, which I'm very behind on. And honestly, y'all, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with the reading journal. So anyways, tough subject there for me, but I'm just not sure. But anyway, so I grabbed the sticker paper originally to use in there, and then of course I started using it in my Hobonichi, and it's absolutely amazing. So I thought for a project like this, I thought, why not use sticker paper? It is matte, so it's not the same as like photo quality as if I was printing it off on photo paper. But for this particular project, I thought it didn't matter that much. This is more for the vibes. It's not for the most crisp, most amazing photo. I honestly like that vintage look that the photo paper gives because this is all about thrifting. It's about vintage and all of that. And it really is just about the vibes. So I printed off some photos that I took while I was at this thrift store, just all kinds of sizes, just printed off some larger, the ones that I really liked printed off some really small. So they're just a mixed match of sizes. I think that one at the top of the mannequins wearing the vintage Disney World ears, I believe that one is a 2x3 size. All of the little 4 cluster there at the bottom, those are definitely a 1.5 by 2 inch size. And then the larger one is a 3x4. So I just kind of mixed and matched, just kind of guesstimated what I thought that would look good and where it would look good, So now I found a few little embellishments from Studio Calico from that stash. So I have some just like little random, almost like tags and just little icons. So I added those on. Also a few smiley faces and little things like that. These are some acetate hearts that I'm adding on, just kind of messing with washi and just little embellishments. I really want this to look organic. Like I just stuck everything in here like it's a junk journal, not that I really tried too hard or thought it out. I don't want these to be like, layouts or spreads or anything. I just want it to be like, oh, I just kind of taped this photo in here type thing. So I have a few other pictures. This one is of this really cute booth that I loved, and there's like a large Pez collection. I love Pez, so I thought that was really cute. And then I have one other like velvet, it's not a painting, but it's like a velvet, what are those called? I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about. The big, huge velvet pictures that, you can hang on your wall. We actually have a couple of them in our home. I saw a really cool one, so I popped that in here as well. So sorry if I'm a little, loop-de-loo. It is a little bit late whenever I'm recording this voiceover, so bear with me, guys. But anyways, yeah, so this was just a really fun thing to start, and I'm once again very excited that I was able to use these 2 vintage books. It just makes me feel so good. I love flipping through and looking at all of the illustrations even so far, and I just love that I'm able to document these thrifting photos, and now that's going to definitely be something that I really focus on whenever I'm thrifting, getting some fun pictures of different things that I find. I did that every now and then, like to share with my patrons over on our Instagram story that we have, but I really didn't print off the photos until Flea Market from Simple Stories came out, and I thought, you know what? I need to make a spread or a layout about thrifting. And so that kind of brought to light that I should be taking pictures while I'm at the thrift store, because there's so many great things that I love to document. Or I need to take pictures like that won't disappear with my story post, you know what I mean? So I'm really excited to have this little book, and it's really just for fun. I'm not documenting too much. I'm not journaling too much. I'm not saying too much. It's just kind of a fun book that I can flip back through and just get the vibes of thrifting, just to feel the feels and to just be like, oh wow, this was such a cool thrift store. Another thing that I thought of, I am going to run over to Amazon when I get done with this, and I'm going to purchase some more little Avery index tabs because I'm out, and there's been so many projects recently that I've been like, oh, I need an index tab for that, because I think it would be really cute to, on the page, like with the business card, to add a little Avery index tab to the outside so that I can easily find each individual thrift store that I'm talking about, so that it's not just all jumbled in here. And then they'll have the little tabs on the outside, and I can like flip flop to the different stores, which I think will be really cute as well. So loving this project and the way that it's turning out so far. And of course, I will continue this series over here on YouTube, and the next time I go thrifting, or the next couple times or something, I'll definitely come back to this album and we will add more photos to it. So I hope that y'all enjoyed it. I hope it will give you a little bit of inspiration to try out a mini album, an altered book. Remember, you can always do the same thing, but with like big rings, and you can just get rings off of Amazon. It's really easy. You can just punch holes. You don't have to have the cinch, but the cinch is a really fun tool. If you are considering it, I definitely think that it is worth the money. So I'm just adding a little title here to the front, and then I will give you a quick flip through, a little bit of a more up close
flip through of the pages that we just worked on today. But I love this little mini album. It makes me so happy to look at, and I think it will be really fun to just fill up with all kinds of just cool photos and places that we go. So I hope that you enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give me a like, and please also consider subscribing. And of course, I'll be back at you super soon with another one. Have a good day, y'all. Bye.